You're not helping. It's not trying. You do it.
I literally have been sticking up for you.
I don't want to be.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back again with another unexpected video. And of course, this is all about Kylen and Jason. But also, most importantly, his father. Because really and truly, we've seen glimpses throughout the season that have shown us exactly why Jason is Jason. But when it came to the tell-all, his dad pretty much gave us that finale statement based on something that he said, which is something that we are going to uncover throughout the video. But we're going to begin by giving a big massive shout out to every single person that is a member of the channel. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down that first opening scene that I just showed you there, guys, because there's a build up to the finale of the video. Now, at the very beginning, you saw a clip right there where Jason is upset with Kylen because he feels as if she has not been doing her job, her responsibility of defending him against the rest of the cast. And he even goes as far as saying, I don't want to date you anymore. And to be honest with you, that is one of the most classic lines of a narcissist, of a manipulative piece of, well, I'll leave my my uncensored stuff for Patreon, as you already know. And if you're not a part of Patreon just yet, the link is down below in the description. But with that being said though, let's get into this first scene here to really break down and see how Kylen did actually do her best to defend Jason, but he still didn't care enough to acknowledge it in the way that, you know, well, let's put it this way. If it isn't the way he wants it to be done, it's not good enough ever. And honestly, it puts her in a position that is so sickening and so sad. But let's get into this one.
Apologize about.
I feel like my birth was the best day of my life.
Yeah.
And going back and looking at that and thinking of anybody that stood in front of giving me the best day of my life.
Now, right now, at this moment in time, the rest of the cast members are sitting there and saying that, listen, we're not happy with the scene of when you was giving birth. Because at the end of the day, Kylen, when you was giving birth, Jason did nothing but make it difficult for you. He did nothing but take away that moment that you waited for 9 long months. And then she was asked a question. Aren't you exhausted? Aren't you tired? Aren't you drained? And this is what Kylen had to say. But I want you to notice something though. I want you to pay attention to Jason. As she is asked the question of, did you not find the experience draining? Was you not drained? I want you to just watch how Jason acts.
Emotionally drained, Kylen?
I mean, a little. What was that?
I agree.
Did you see it? And the reason I asked the question, did you see it? Because I know some of you lovely folks, when you're watching the videos, you put it on as a background, you go off and you do your cleaning, you do your cooking, which is freaking amazing. But you need to come back to the screen. So I'm gonna show you one more time. One more time. So I want you to notice the body language from Jason towards Kylen when she's asked a question. Aren't you emotionally drained? Was you not emotionally drained on the day of giving birth based on, well, to be fair, you're meant to be drained anyway because giving birth is one of those experiences. But at the same time, emotionally drained because of Jason's attitude.
Emotionally drained, Kylen?
I mean, a little. What was that?
I agree with it.
So you can see she hesitated in giving her response. She hesitated on not knowing how she should because she knows that no matter what she says, it has to be in favor of Jason. So therefore there was that pause. But before the pause, Jason looked directly towards her and gave her the look like, whatever comes, you got a mouth, better be good, girl. And then she was like, and then this is when Jason steps in and decides to say the thing that nobody wants to hear from him.
I agree with it. It's supposed to be like the most beautiful thing, right? But I'm pretty sure it's also supposed to be for the male too, because
No,
it's
it's
their
not.
kid.
No, it's
Okay.
not. She is pushing the baby out. Like you.
And then we got to that point where Jason had to make it all about him. Because if it's not about him, then it doesn't matter. And he had to make it abundantly clear, well, that day is important to me too. In fact, that day is actually more important to me than it is for her. Now, here's the thing. In life, when you're in a relationship with a man and woman, at least anyway, there are times in life when there are certain priorities in life. There are times in life where things will always be 50-50 in that relationship. But then there are times when things will be 60-40, 80-20, give or take what it is. Now, if a woman has carried your child for 9 long months, and then including the day of delivery, and she has to go through hours and hours and hours of pain because she's in labor, And she has to withhold that pain, sometimes even have to take certain things, the epidural that Jason didn't want her to take in the first place. Understand that that whole experience is draining. And after 9 long months, all a woman wants is for her partner to be there, to hold her hand, to reassure that everything's going to be okay, to reassure that we are going to be the best parents ever. But instead, Jason does the opposite, complete opposite. And at that moment in time is the moment in time where I can say that I definitely agree that giving birth is a woman's time. Giving birth is all about the woman. It's not even an 80% situation. It is literally a 95% situation. If I had a woman and she was pregnant right now and she was about to give birth, I would be in there and I'd be like, listen, baby, I'm here just to hold your hand and support you through the pain because I know you're about to deliver the best child. As I know you're about to deliver the best looking child, the best child ever. The child is going to make us whole. But I know that this moment is going to be yours because you've had to do it for 9 long months while I just sat there just being me. Without no hormones, without having to have mood swings, without having cravings, just living La Vida Loca while you went through all the pain of 9 months. Damn, man, I'm so happy that men don't get pregnant if you dig what I'm saying. But the fact is this though, Jason wanted to take that away from her. And that's what he did. And you can see by his answer. And you can see that he had to answer that question to make sure that Kylen didn't answer it in a way that would have made him unhappy. In fact, her initial response was, what was that again? She heard what they said. She just didn't know what to say, so Jason had to intervene. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, that is just the first segment of this video of showing us how Jason behaved and how Jason continued to control her and how we linked this segment to the very beginning. At the very beginning, I showed you the part where Jason is talking about how she didn't do a good enough job of defending him and how all of a sudden now he's like, oh, I don't want to date you no more. Date? I didn't know they were dating. I thought they were an item, to be honest with you. But that itself alone is despicable, disgusting, disturbing to think that this girl can never do anything right. No matter how much she tries to be on his side, he will always put her down. Always put her down to make her feel like absolute beep, beep, beep. Leave that for Patreon. But now let's move on to the next part. This is where the father comes into play. And the father's attitude is literally a mirror of Jason's attitude. But let's get into it.
Knows that wasn't okay for you.
I love stressful guitars.
Yeah, I know.
I love the attention.
I feel like it was just really.
Point number 1. He loves the attention. Let's go on to the next one.
I think they're so angry because they think everything is like pointed direct at them because I've been in the
like it.
I've been
Well, you shouldn't like it.
I get the attention. Boost my ego.
This is their
Point number 2. Remember this one as well. Let's move on to the next one.
If it wasn't only on our relationship, we would still be single.
We worry about
I don't give a I got you all the views. None of you guys were popular on the show other than me.
I mean, that moment itself in particular really finalized a lot of things. Well, at least at this point here, I'm sitting thinking this boy loves the attention way too much. The way he's literally building his ego more and more and more and more is getting uglier and worse and more disturbing and more annoying. But then we had this part.
I'm just gonna tell you right now that they wouldn't have much of a show if it wasn't for us.
And then the father came into place. The father came into place and he's basically mirrored what his son said too. If it wasn't for us, no one would be here. And you know what made it worse? Jason was there, of course. And then, of course, with Jason being Jason, he had to add in the cherry on top that was just not needed because, to be honest with you, anything that he does is just never needed.
Every single one of those couples got pissed, and I was like, everyone watching the show is watching it for me. And then they all freaked out. I walked out.
Now, I want you to notice something. I want you to notice something else. You see, when it comes to the tell-all for Unexpected, the setup is quite interesting. They have the parents come out first, they sit down, the kids stay backstage. The girls in one room, the boys in another room. And then obviously when they change over, they'll have the parents in one room backstage, and then that's it. But in this scenario here, you see, what I noticed is that when they had, in fact, let me show you real quick. You can see that here we've got the mums. But all of the mums here are for all the daughters, despite there's only one mum that's missing, and that is Jason's mum. Well, she's not necessarily his mum, but you know what I mean, right? Now, also at the same time, though, we then move over to the scene that we've just seen, where we can see Jason's parents are in their own little room. And the reason why this is also key to identify is because it tells you and shows us how much they don't give a damn about anybody else on the cast, which is fine. You don't have to be friends with everybody else. You don't have to be. But it is interesting because you can see that when it comes to Jason and Kylen, it's all about isolating themselves from the rest of the group, more or less. And also at the same time, the parents are also doing the same thing. So it is quite fitting how you can see the mirror, legit performance, the mirror in between Jason and his father. And to be fair with you, even if we add on to it and we look at the rest of the season, Jason's goal throughout the season was to take Kylen away from her parents and bring her towards his. And at the same time, his parents definitely didn't do anything to try and, make it fair for Kylen to be able to be around her parents as well. They were more than happy to take her in, which again is also quite low-key concerning, if you know what I mean. And I'm gonna tell you why that's quite concerning, to be fair, because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and somebody said, remember back in the day when you was a kid and you'd ask your parents, at least for an African boy anyway, hey, can I go sleep over my friend's house, Jimmy over there? And he's always say no. And then we fast forward to today's society and we're looking at it, and in the podcast they were like, it's probably the reason our parents probably said that is because they wasn't too sure what kind of sicko your friend's parents could be, because we live in a world where we've got some interesting adults out here who be doing some very unnecessary things. I know that's very dark, but I'm just saying though, look at it this way. We know that Jason is a control freak. We know that he's a narcissist. We know that he has an attitude that just shouldn't be around any woman or child. And then we look at his father. His father has exactly the same tendencies. Then we look at the behavior of Kylen. Then we look at the behavior of also the mother. And when we're looking at the behavior, you can see that how both of those ladies always have very little to say necessarily. But whenever it comes to the men, they always have a lot to say, and the women always sit there and say nothing. The comparisons. So it's one of those things where you're sitting and you're thinking to yourself, it is quite worrying how Kylen has to be around not just Jason but also his father when both of them are complete. Yeah, I can't use that word. And it is quite freakishly it's one of those things that's becoming quite disturbing. The picture is becoming bigger and bigger. And then the more and more I talk about it right now, the more I'm like, wow, this is actually darker than I could even imagine. Maybe even more than you could imagine. Or maybe some of you already caught onto this. But remember, everything that I say is not factual. It's just obviously from my analysis, from what I'm seeing. But as far as I'm concerned, if I was Kylen's parents, I would be nervous to allow my daughter, my grandchild, to always be 24/7 be in the same four walls as Jason and his father. Because both of them clearly don't give a damn about women's feelings. But nonetheless though, in the Tell All Part 1, we definitely got more of a confirmation about Jason's attitude and where he gets it from. And sadly so, it is something that is still ongoing right now. I mean, somebody said, rumor has it that apparently they may have broken up. I don't think that's really true in my opinion. But if they have, then boy, I am so happy for Kylen. And I really hope that if she has broken up with him, she doesn't go back and she gets full custody of their kid. But again, no, I don't think that rumor is true because I haven't really seen enough evidence behind it. But nonetheless, though, you let me know what you're thinking. Do you think that I'm reaching, or do you agree with the points that I had, or do you think that I missed some points that you believe that you can add in the comment section and we can talk about it? That would be great. And before I leave, for those people that I always say I would subscribe to you, but you talk too much, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? Sit here and just watch a video? I do make myself laugh. Nonetheless though, thank you so much for your time. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys over at Patreon if you are a member. If you're not, link is down below in the description. We are done and we are out. Peace.